Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to have a look at VRA, okay, for what it's worth. We're going to have a look at it. So there's been a few coins recently, especially these micro caps, and I made a video maybe 4 to 6 weeks back about, there was 3 of them that I was focusing on, looking at them waiting for a change of behaviour, because they had nice rallies, big rallies. They've got what would appear a nice community. I say nice, quite large for being a small cap coin. And but the retrace on them, or should I say the dump, has been horrendous, and so it's not anything that you would wanted to have been caught on the wrong side of, nor would you want to buy it even at the wrong time now, just in case, just in case, because the market is still in a consolidation to stroke accumulation, and it is vulnerable to just pulling back and going down further. I mean, I made a video on Bitcoin this morning, kind of put that into context. Things look okay. We can assume that the bottom is in, but it doesn't mean that it can't break down. It obviously could, and if it did, things like this would just be complete write-offs. Okay, so we're just going to focus on VRA today. On this video, I did one on Bepro, which has already started to move and has a better chart than this. So this is the situation going on with VRA. So the death cross played out over here with a further retrace to a reasonable extent since that cross. Now we're sort of bouncing with the rest of the market, but as far as the chart's concerned, this didn't do a double bottom. This actually went and printed a new low, which is not like most altcoins and Bitcoin, which did essentially do a double bottom, and the last bottom was ever so slightly higher than the previous one, giving it that extra nod to the bulls that, okay, the buying pressure is greater than the selling pressure, and we should at least not have a relief rally, but maybe that could mark the bottom. Again, assumptions are in. There's no guarantees. Whereas this one hasn't done that. This continued to make a new low, a brand new low over here, and now we're coming up to be rejected from the 50 exponential and this Ichimoku cloud, which in itself is a giant cloud of resistance, right? The pressure of this resistance cloud, it will dissipate in about 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't mean that we can launch there. It just means that there's less added weight on top of these candle bodies, giving it the freedom to move. And there's many charts that look like this, which makes me think that if we do go sideways, continue just to go sideways, in about 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks time, there should be quite a sizable move from most altcoins, and when it comes to and Bitcoin itself, but altcoins especially, they should have the freedom to move. Doesn't mean they have to move, but they will have the freedom to start moving, being above that cloud. So at the moment, it's not really got that kind of freedom. It's a bit of a lagger, because when you're looking at things like Bepro, that's already moved, but VRA hasn't. We do have an incoming golden cross on the 4-hourly, signalling a change of behaviour if we can only just make that cross. We don't have it yet, it's not confirmed, and to be honest with you, so far it's been relatively weak. If we measure this from the absolute bottom, remember that is the absolute bottom, to this absolute top, there's an 81% move, which obviously isn't bad. I mean, hardly anyone will ever catch the bottom, nor will they sell the top. Nor would you really want to, if my expectations of the way that this chart is going to play out over a longer period of time. You wouldn't really want to sell that. If you had caught that bottom, then excellent, but no one would have known where that bottom is, as the market generally is dictated by Bitcoin at the moment, and altcoins are popping off here, there and everywhere, but if we looked at the total market cap and the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, and basically the Bitcoin dominance chart, money has entered the market to the tune of about $500 billion, and it's coming to the market relatively evenly, so that has allowed for some of these altcoins to really move quite a lot, because that's a lot of money, and that $500 billion turned up in the market within a 12-day period. So a lot of money entered the crypto market very quickly, and spread more or less evenly across the board, with a ever so slight bit more into Bitcoin. So we see these sort of things, setups like this, and we do get excited because we expect something's about to happen, but there's no confirmation on any of these at the moment. What I would say, however, is that if you did want to invest into something like VRA, it could be a rocky road for the next 6 to 8 weeks anyway, as the market is still going sideways, generally being dictated by Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still in accumulation phase, and things like like this may have just moved with the market and not really be ready to do its own thing. The chart itself doesn't really look ripe to do its own thing. However, if you do believe in that the bottom is in and we are accumulating, between 28,000 for Bitcoin to as high as 49,000, which that's how I see the situation right now, then you could argue the point that, all right, let's just accumulate whatever it is that we want, and hopefully over time it will work out, meaning that this is could mark a bottom area, but this chart is nowhere near as strong as the others that we generally look at. It's pretty weak still. That doesn't mean it can't turn around, but essentially what you're doing here is you're catching a very slow falling knife. Now if we go to the VRA versus Bitcoin, we do have an incoming or just recently confirmed death cross. For what it's worth, a death cross doesn't have to mark continuation down, but what it also suggests here is that Bitcoin is likely to be the stronger asset in the short term, and that would also coincide with the way that this Bitcoin dominance chart looks on the daily, which is we've got a conversion baseline cross conversion baseline cross with the GQ span above the price action, and price also above the cloud, which means that we should have a continuation. So we've got the cross, where were we? The cross above the cloud here, GQ span above price, and so we've got 3 of 3 confirmations of a trend that should continue to go up. But you will never get the bottom, you'll never get the top with one of these, so the trend could already be over, but I don't think so. I think we're looking to go harder and heavier, at least to the 200 exponential, 51, maybe 52.5, and maybe after then 57 to 58. So it doesn't have to happen, but it could. And because it could, it just makes it a little scarier, especially when you've got a situation like this where we've got a death cross versus sats, and it could mean that sats get drained out of the market, and it doesn't mean that they will be drained out forever. It just means that Bitcoin's likely to be the stronger asset in the short term. All right, in the short term. That said, I am very interested in VRA. I do want to pick some up, and I would probably use my tether rather than exchange my Bitcoin for it, given everything that I've just said about the market. Now, one other thing I would say is that we've seen this a few times, and one place that we have seen this death cross coming in, and then it just turn around at the last minute, almost like a bear trap. Because this is definitely a bearish indication, right? It doesn't mean that it has to play out to a large extent. Just means that the downwards pressure versus the Satoshi charts is still strong, right? Still stronger than it is weak. But if we go to the total market cap, we also had one of these, essentially like a bear trap kind of vibe going on here. So a big breakdown, 200 exponential, 50 exponential, coming in to form a death cross, and then at the last minute just pumped its way out and avoided it altogether. So this is why we generally would look at any kind of signal as something that has to be confirmed before we even think about trading on it, which is why this technically is confirmed, but what does it really mean? Especially with a coin like VRA, which is obviously reasonably popular. I mean, it's got 52 Bitcoins in a 24-hour period. That's not an enormous amount, but it's a fair amount, to go into anything. So we could look at this as perhaps maybe a false signal, and even though it isn't bullish, it doesn't necessarily have to play out in an extremely bearish fashion. So I am quite interested in it, and to be honest, a further pullback, I think I will start to put some money into it at these low levels. Only with my tether. I'm not prepared to exchange my Bitcoin for it, given the Bitcoin dominance chart looks like it wants to continue with an uptrend. However, if we do get a rejection from one of those levels that I mentioned before, then maybe it would be rude not to put some of my hard-earned Bitcoins into little things like this, just even if it was just for a measly 100% pump, So I don't mind doubling the amount of Bitcoin that I had, and these things can run fast. So I could double my the amount of Bitcoin I've invested, sometimes in something as small as a few days to a couple of weeks, and I know that we can look back at these charts and go, well, that's nothing. This ran up, what is it, 4,000% or something from the bottom. But yeah, I mean, how many people managed to do that? So a 2,300% move from the bottom to the top, roughly speaking, from when the confirmation was in, breaking out and accumulating back again at the 200 exponential. So that's the sort of thing that we look for when it comes to confirmation. We'll put it on the log scale, make it a bit easier to see. There we go, let's get that chart a bit bigger there. So, I mean, it's really even hard to see on the log scale, to be honest. So this is the sort of confirmation that we want to see. So, again, I would imagine if I'd have made this video before saying, I'm looking for confirmation, I'm waiting for the bottom to be in, and then it rallies, what is this rally from the bottom? It's a 400%, and people would look at me and go, you missed the bottom, man. You missed it. Unlucky. But I'll be like, look, I need confirmation if I'm going to put some decent money into this, and look to make a sizable investment. I need confirmation, right? I can't just go throwing stuff in, and then shortly after that, obviously we did get a decent rally of about 2,000%. So I mean, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for. I don't mind missing out on the 400% in order to get confirmation for the for the next amount. Now, I would never trade this from the bottom to the top. I would be selling all the way up, and like I say, all I'm really looking to do is to double, triple, or quadruple the amount of Bitcoin that I put into something like this. I need to make sure that there's liquidity to start with, which seems okay for the moment, and I also need to make sure that I've got confirmation that this will be worth exchanging my Bitcoin and going in, because if it's not, I should have just kept the Bitcoin. And at the moment, it would have been a very good idea to have Bitcoin instead of VRA. As you can see, it's retraced to a large extent, 67% down versus Bitcoin, which meant that anyone who held Bitcoin versus anyone who held VRA, the people who hold Bitcoin are definitely going to be loving it, and the people who hold VRA are just not going to be happy with it. I don't think that this is a big issue in the long run. I think this is likely to turn up and probably make some really big moves, but confirmation is key for something like this. But like I say, throwing a little piece of tether into this, it's not such a bad idea, considering that I believe that we are accumulating at this kind of level. But doesn't mean that accumulations. We've been through many of them. I've been through just recently the YFII accumulation. That's been going on for a very long period of time, and only just now is it coming out the other end, which is good. But it's been a bumpy ride. It's been a long haul, to be honest. It's been a long haul, but that accumulation has taken over a year. So yeah, that has been a hard one to deal with. But I expect it to be pretty lucrative once it's finished. This one will take a lot less, given the nature of this chart, 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks, and then it should have some kind of power to really start to make some big moves. And the moves that I'll be looking for to start with would be basically up to where these main areas of support resistances. So the first big move should take us about 130, 140% up to these levels, and then after then probably up to around these levels, so another 200% move. This is just versus tether, and then maybe at 277%. Finally bring it up to the 360%, and then hopefully after that continue to make bigger and bigger and bigger highs. But it's not something that you should entertain the idea of holding on for a long period of time. I would seriously suggest scaling out on the way up for something like this, taking profit with every milestone, like the ones I've mentioned. And if it continues to go up, you'll always have some, but if it doesn't, it gets rejected and then goes back into its own shadow, and then below, you won't have any regrets either. Anyway, that's just my trading style. That's how I always trade these sort of things. Never be all in, never be all out. Just make sure that you're taking profits, and don't just wait for the next level beyond yours, because as you can see, there's been a lot of wreckage take place in a chart like this, but the opportunity is presenting itself to suggest that we are clearly in an accumulation phase. The resistance here is broken, got into a new level, and all we need to do really is to reclaim these moving averages. Even if we have, like we did before, a 400% rally and a retest of these moving averages, don't worry about missing any kind of boat. Confirmation is key for something like this, because you just do not want to be caught on the wrong side of it. These are high risk stuff, high risks, high rewards, and so because of that, if you're just throwing $100 in, that's fine. But if you're doing several thousand or more, even more than that, then you do want to make sure that you've got confirmation that, first of all, there's an uptrend, and secondly, that the market is healthy, and also the Bitcoin dominance is in your favor. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there, but thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and take it easy.